All right, so imagine this. You have found a way to save $20,000 in your savings account, and it feels good. You're super happy about it, and you should be. That's a lot of money.
What are your superpowers again? I'm rich.
And then one day you decide to check on the interest that you've earned from the bank for that account, and it's only $20, which is 0.1%. So later that week, a friend and you start to talk, and he basically says, hey, I've been making 7% each year off of an index fund. And then he turns to you and says, hey, by the way, because your money is sitting in the bank, you're probably losing about 3% per year.
Hello, Mrs. Farnickel. How are you today? Making a deposit, are we? Great. We can just put that into your retirement account and make it go to work for you, and it's gone.
You're not actually making anything. Obviously, you're confused by this because you're thinking, well, it's in the bank. It's in my savings account. How could I be losing money?
Everybody on the ground, you put your hands up. Put the money in the bank. Wait.
Now, if this is you, don't worry. AI is here to help. I've talked with my AI assistant, Tiara. She is going to kind of break down the difference between investing and savings and when it might be time to kind of, change your strategy. Hey, Tiara. I just got a big pay raise at work, and I'm not sure whether or not I should be saving or investing the extra $500 I get every month for my paycheck. Can you help me understand saving and investing better so that I can make the best choice?
Of course. Here's the thing. Saving and investing are like peanut butter and jelly. They're different, but they work great together. Understanding how each one works is key to leveling up your financial game. Think of it this way. Saving is like putting your cash in a comfy, safe piggy bank. Investing? That's more like sending your money on an adventure to grow and multiply. Both should have their place in your financial toolkit, but knowing when to use each one can make a huge difference in your money goals.
Now, I like the analogy, but I think it's important to note that that piggy bank that your money is sitting in, you got to remember that it does have a little bit of a crack and kind of leak in the piggy bank where 3% of your money is falling out every single year. And also, if you are investing your money, that's similar to sending it on a sailing trip around the world, which is great, but you have to understand that it's pretty much a guarantee that at some point there's going to be some treacherous waters as well. That's going to be kind of tough to navigate. But to understand why I say all that, TR first wanted to more clearly define saving and give you the pros and cons of it, which is definitely important to know.
All right, let's talk about saving. What exactly is it? Well, saving is basically setting aside some of your hard-earned cash for later use. So, how do people usually save? The most common way is through a good old savings account at your bank. It's simple, it's safe, and it's easy to access when you need it. There are other ways to do this as well, like CDs and bonds, which typically have a high rate of return, but let's keep it simple for the sake of this example.
Simple is a good idea. On my channel, I've had dozens of conversations with AI where we get into a lot of details, but for this, let's just keep it simple. And now let's move on to understand the pros of a savings account.
Let's start with the pros. Safety. Your money's not going on any wild rides here. It's FDIC insured up to $250,000, so unless the entire U.S. economy collapses, your cash is safe and sound. Liquidity. Need that money as soon as possible? No problem. You can usually withdraw at any time without penalties. Predictability and low risk. You know exactly how much you've got and how much interest you're earning each and every month, and it doesn't change frequently.
Now, definitely a good idea to point out that a lot of banks, they actually will insure your money with the FDIC up to $250,000. So if a bank burns down or a bank just simply goes out of business or there's some corruption within, it really doesn't matter. You'll be able to get your money back from the FDIC relatively quickly. Now, let's get back into the cons, which actually relates to something that I said in the intro of the video.
Cons. Low returns. The interest rates on savings accounts are usually pretty sad. We're talking like 0.01% to 1% in most cases. Inflation. Here's the kicker. If inflation, which averages about 3% each year, is higher than your interest rate, your money is actually losing purchasing power over time.
And this is the killer with saving money in the bank. When you're with the bank, they give such a low interest rate that you may as well just go to your bank account every year, take out 3%, bundle it up, throw it in the backyard at a bonfire, light it up, and just enjoy yourself, because that's pretty much what you're doing with your money if it's sitting in the bank. And I don't want to get deep into, inflation and how that causes that, but here's the simplest example I can think of. So Subway, years ago, they had the $5 footlong. Remember that? That was a great campaign. A lot of people went there. That same footlong nowadays costs $7. They just launched a campaign for a $7 footlong. That is inflation at work. So long story short, that same sandwich, it costs a little bit more now because the government has printed more money. And when they print money, there's more money available. And because there's more money available, it doesn't have as much value. It really comes down to simple supply and demand. Now, let's have Tiara compare this a little bit to investing so that you really understand the difference.
So, what exactly is investing? Well, it's like giving your money a job. Instead of letting it sit around in a savings account, you're putting it to work in the hopes that it'll grow over time. You're essentially buying assets that you expect to increase in value or provide income in the future.
I'm going to use an analogy here that Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank uses that I think is just a really good explanation of how this all works. So each dollar that you have is a soldier. And when you invest that dollar, you are sending that soldier off to war or to a battle, we can say, right? And what you're hoping for, obviously those soldiers, they don't want to die. So what you're hoping is that the soldier will go out and it will end up basically winning the battle, taking captives, right? Taking other soldiers from other armies, bringing it back to you, which signifies more money coming back to you, right? And then you get a bigger army, and then you're able to take that and then go fight another battle, which is another investment, and so on and so forth, until you have a huge army, which is, millions or billions of dollars, whatever it may be for you. So now you're probably wondering, what are the most common types of investments to make? And here's what Tiara had to say.
Stocks. This is like buying a piece of a company. It's like saying, "Hey Apple, I believe in you. Here's some cash, now use that to make me more." Bonds. This is when you lend money to companies or governments and they promise to pay you back with interest. It's like being the bank for a change. Mutual funds and ETFs. These are like investment smoothies, a mix of stocks, bonds, or other assets blended together. Real estate. From buying property to investing in real estate investment trusts, this is like playing Monopoly as a kid. And finally, cryptocurrencies. This is the new kid on the block. It's digital, it's volatile, and while it's definitely not for the faint of heart, there is potential for exponential returns in the future.
Now, I'd agree that these are the most common types of investments available, and frankly, some of them are just riskier than others. Now, let's see what Tiara had to say are the pros of investing.
Potential for higher returns. Over the long term, investments like stocks have historically outperformed savings accounts by a long shot. Beating inflation. Good investments can grow your money faster than inflation eats it away. Passive income. Some investments, like dividend stocks or rental properties, can provide regular income with very little work.
And that's all 100% true, but if you want to hear about the pros, you have to hear about the cons.
Risk. Unlike savings, investments can go down in value. Some investments do this more than others. It depends mostly on the investment type. Less liquidity. With investments, you can't always cash out instantly, and doing so at the wrong time could mean losses or sometimes penalties if you don't do it right. Requires more knowledge. You need to understand what you're investing in, or you could make costly mistakes.
Now, definitely important points, and it's a good thing to point out that, investing is always right when things are going well. But it's important to remember that if you're making uneducated, investments or just frankly bad investments, you're being too risky, you can lose a lot of money really, really quickly, and that's definitely not a good thing. But Tiara did mention a good point about that.
Investing is often seen as a long-term game. It's not about getting rich quickly. It's about growing your wealth over time and slowly accumulating a fortune. If you look at investing this way and have a more calculated approach, you'll have a much better return than a savings account with an embarrassingly low interest rate.
So this is exactly how I look at investing, right? Take your money, put it into an account, invest it properly, and leave it alone. If you do that over time, generally speaking, it will grow. Next, Tiara wanted to detail exactly when it makes sense to start investing versus saving. And I really like this part because she actually gives actionable steps.
How much someone should save before investing really depends on individual circumstances. However, here are some key guidelines to consider. Emergency fund. Most experts recommend building an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of living expenses before focusing heavily on investing. Some suggest starting with at least $1,000 for emergencies. High interest debt. It's generally advised to pay off high interest debt, like credit cards, before investing significantly. While this isn't necessarily about saving, it just makes good financial sense as it's hard to beat high-interest debt in the market.
Now, this is important, so I'm going to break it down very simply for you. If you have a credit card that charges an 18% interest rate, in order to make it make sense to do investing instead, you would have to make 19% or more to make that work. And that is extremely hard to do. So long story short, kill your high interest debt before you start investing. And if you're wondering, well, Ron, what is the high interest? What is high interest? I usually say it's about 12% or more. Let's go ahead and move on.
Retirement savings. Many experts recommend saving 15% of your pre-tax income for retirement, including any employer contributions. This can be done through vehicles like 401ks or IRAs.
One thing I have to say here, make sure that you understand how compound interest works. At the end of the day, all you really need to do is, invest a little bit of money every single month, and I assure you that over time it'll be one of the best decisions that you'll ever make.
Balanced approach. Some suggest following a 50-15-5 rule, 50% of take-home pay for essential expenses, 15% for retirement savings, and 5% for short-term savings. The extra 30% goes towards discretionary spending.
Now, I like this approach. I think that this is a really good way to start to build up your accounts from basically zero. Now, me personally, I'd probably take a lot of that discretionary spending and probably throw a lot of it into investments as well.
Boring.
But you do what works best for you.
Investing while saving. Some experts suggest you can start investing small amounts while still building your emergency fund, especially if your employer offers a 401k match.
Now, I really like this as well. So even if it's just investing $50 per month, just building up that investment muscle will definitely pay off in the long run. So take your time, get comfortable with the information in this video, save this video, and when you're ready, go ahead and dip your toes into the water of investing when you decide it's right for you. I should mention too, since you are probably trying to better understand investing, I highly recommend that you watch this video right here, which talks about 5 investment strategies to avoid, or if that's not for you, go ahead and check out my most recent video right here. But I will say this video right here will save you a ton of headaches. And before you go, please remember to like this video so YouTube will share it with others. And as always, make sure that you subscribe to unlock financial success one AI chat at a time. See you in the next one.